in court while he testified.
I want to put it to you, sir, in my more than 20 years experience, I've never seen an expert testifying on exhibits that he did not actually physically compare with the actual firearm in question.
I disagree with you.
In fact, when I refer to the expert, I refer to ballistic experts, I refer to DNA experts, I refer to fingerprint experts. Never in my career have I seen this. Have your reports ever been criticized by your peers?
Yes. Yes.
In which regard?
In all regards, you have a partner which is currently in America, and he peer reviews my work.
Yes, in which regard was your reports criticized?
All the aspects.
I want to also put it to you, whoever's watching this today is also going to criticize your conduct here by testifying on an exhibit that you have not physically examined the way you should have, according to protocol.
I also disagree.
In your report, you state that you were employed by the South African Police Services in 1984 up to 1989. Is that correct? And that you joined the ballistic unit, I think if my understanding is correct, in 1989. You also, in the report, it says that in 1998 you left the ballistic section of the Forensic Science Laboratory of the South African Police Service. Is that correct?
That's correct. I left the police force, yes.
If my calculation is correct, that you have been a ballistic expert at the South African Police Services for 9 years. Is that correct?
Ballistic expert employed by the state, yes.
Yes.
Ballistic experts are in 35 years.
That's exactly what my question was. I said at the SAPS for the state.
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
And in your period that you have been in the ballistic section in the state's employ, did you have to undergo regular testing insofar as proficiency is concerned?
I've done one proficiency test like a very long time ago when I was employed in the police force.
Just for the court record and for everybody's understanding, what is a proficiency test?
Currently, how it works, the state gets from America a cartridge case of 5 bullets, which is unknown. They'll send to the state or the labs, which they then give to the examiner. The examiner will then test the cartridge cases, do a comparison, get a result, and the result will then be sent into America to verify. The problem with the test is the following. South Africa buys normally all four laboratories, 2 tests, which everybody needs to do for the year. So the first, I would say the first 3 examiners examining that cartridge will fired bullet will be the ones that do a blind test. After the blind test, other people are also required to do the examination. Before half the examiners have done the examination, they already know what the results are. That's the problem. It's not a blind test. So if you do a blind test, it will be each examiner will have one test that they need to do. Which unfortunately, because of the cost implication, it's not viable to give each person or each examiner a separate test.
The proficiency test that we are referring or that we are talking about, you said you only did one. Is that in your whole career, or is it?
That year I was employed with the state.
Did you hear the question? I was asking you, did you only do one in your whole career? As you stated here, you've got experience of 40 years.
Once again, I said once, when I was employed with the state. Yes, once.
Yes. The question is, in your career, how many? This proficiency test, shouldn't it be done biannually or annually in order to test whether you can still do the job that you are employed for or that you are making your bread and butter?
That is correct. Mostly the proficiency test is where there's laboratories involved with a lot of examiners. Because I'm alone with one other partner in America, the chances that I'm going to actually do an examination or get the opportunity to get an exhibit from a crime scene related to a firearm is almost zero.
We're going to get to that answer a little bit later. Because you have been talking about your experience in training on page 3, I will get to that you've just confirmed. Should you be doing this proficient test on a regular basis in order to practice as an expert, as you call yourself?
No, I disagree.
How will you be tested, sir, to be able to see whether you can still do the job, whether you are still proficient in doing it, when technology is evolving all the time?
The reason being is that, like you said now, the technology is going forward. The science hasn't changed. The application of what was referred to protocols in the beginning from 1950 still stays the same. Unfortunately, because of technology, the marks and everything is just more and more coming together. In other words, in the beginning when I started ballistic, there was no such thing as subclass characteristics. They only came later when they found that there's other marks that are similar that they could find. And because of that subclass characteristics came out, they said that we first need to do all of these tests. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the comparison, striation matching. It's physically matching, and that's the science behind it.
Can you recall which year did you do this proficiency test that you were saying?
Unfortunately, not.
Yes. So I want to put it to you, sir, you are not as proficient to do ballistic tests without you even knowing when last did you do such a proficiency test. That is what logic dictates, that you cannot be an expert, as you recall yourself, without that proficiency test to test if you can still do the job as required by your profession. You cannot produce any certificate of the latest proficiency test that you have conducted. Is that correct? I've noticed in every report compiled by a ballistic expert, they refer to this microscopic identification. Can you explain what it is in layman's terms?
If you'd like me to explain the microscope, or you need the process?
First the microscope, and then you can explain the process.
Earlier, I explained the microscope. This is a comparison microscope that you see. And this is how it works. On the left-hand side, what I do exhibits. On the right-hand side, what I do tests. Cartridges that you fire yourself in the firearm. And you use the comparison microscope by looking through the optical lenses, comparing, slicing, matching. In other words, physically matching what we see. This is the same, or similar. And you use that by using parts on this side. You've got the light sources at the back, so you set it up. This is not, I don't want to say it's not rocket science, but you need to make sure that the enlargements are exactly the same. You put the cartridges, you must make sure that everything lines up, the correlations are, or if I can use a watch as an example, you place something at 1 o'clock and you place the exhibit or the test, same marks at 1 o'clock. They should correlate. So if you turn you should find other marks on different places. And they should correlate and they should be the same, or similar in size, depth, and appearance.
Is that the process that you've explained now?
Well, this is just it should be watered down. What we normally do, you will find the exhibit. You will mark the exhibit with a latch number. You will file a little file in the top of the cartridge you file, so to make sure that you know that that's always exhibit. The test you don't do. Then you will take the test and take the last 3 serial numbers of the file and mark that on the cartridge as well as on the bullet. Test bullet 1, test cartridge 1, test bullet 2, 3, and so forth. Then you will go shoot the file in the shooting range. You will collect that cartridge case. Then you will go back to the microscope. Then you will compare your test first to see what unique markings you can find. Then you'll place the exhibits. You'll do exactly the same as what we've done with the test. And now you compare both of them with each other and see if you can find striking matches or physically matching the marks that you found between the two. That's in a nutshell.
What I like about your answer is the fact that you said you actually shoot with that firearm to take that spent cartridge in order to compare it, which we now know you didn't do in this instance.
That's correct.
When did you compile this report that you've presented to court?
That report, if you look at the signature, was signed on the 25th of the 18th. This report, from the day that I start compiling it, because otherwise the information becomes too much to do in one report. I will finalize this report on the 18th
18th of what?
of June. No.
So in other words, your evidence is that you finalized this report yesterday.
That's correct. My report.
Yes. Which means when Colonel Guadlega testified that this report has not been compiled, when Colonel Guadlega testified during his evidence, you didn't have a report like this, is that correct?
At that stage, no, I didn't.
as a result, none of those sketches that you displayed here and most of the things that have been compiled in your report has actually been, Padleka was not questioned about this on your report.
Not using my report, no, but he was questioned regarding subclass characteristics, the way it's supposed to work. That was done.
These extra marks that you identified in your report, what Leka was not cross-examined on that.
He was told to me he was. I'm not 100% sure about the report he was.
One of the marks that you testified about yesterday was that, I'm not sure, is it an indentation mark, the one that you took with your cell phone? Yes. What's that mark called?
It's probably, like I explained yesterday, it might have been the injection port or the deflector.
What would cause such a mark?
As the cartridge is being, after it's fired, as it comes out, it will hit the side of the injection port or the deflector, and that mark will be caused by that. That's why it looks like it used to be like that.
Yes, you are not sure.
Well, I've examined it, and I've examined the cartridge in the court, and I'm of the opinion that that is an injection port mark or a deflector mark.
You said that's what it looks like. In other words, you are not sure.
No, I'm sure, it is. Anyway, that is a deflector, comes from the deflector.
Why do you now first say that's what it looks like? Now you're actually confirming that that is indeed the mark that you just described.
If you look at the area where it says on the cartridge packs, it can only be on the injection port or the deflector. That's all. I've actually examined the whole cartridge, looked at all the class characteristics, and then you can make a determination with 100% certainty is I correct.
Thank you for your honesty. You are not 100% sure that that is indeed so. Is that correct?
Well, 100% yes. I am sure it is, but you are disagreeing with me.
Please answer the question, sir. You are not 100% sure.
I'm
Yes.
100% sure.
How can you testify that if you do all that test that you want to do, then you can be 100% sure, and now you just confirmed again now that you are 100% sure that that is indeed an ejection port mark that you're seeing there?
It will be a confirmation of what my opinion is.
Is it accepted protocol to use a cell phone to to take a picture and then examine it like that, like you're doing with a microscope?
It's not normal, no. We will not use cell phone. If we didn't have a cartridge pack, we didn't have access to it. Once you ask the court said we can have access. And that's why we use the cell phone. If we knew that we would have the ability to take photographs, I would have brought the microscope to the court.
Is that accepted practice to do it in that way?
It's not normal practice, but we can do it.
Is that the standard and protocol how an exhibit should be examined?
No, it's not. You have to do it under the microscope.
That ejection port mark that you are referring to, does it need further individual characteristics with inside that mark in order to get to a positive result. Did you examine that in order to get to a result?
Like I've already testified, I didn't have the opportunity to examine the firearm as well as the cartridge case microscopically, so I could not do that.
There's a lot of things that you didn't do because you didn't get the opportunity to do so, yet you come to this court and make findings on Colonel Guadeka, who's done all the protocols. You're coming to dispute that.
There's a lot of things that I didn't do. I didn't examine the cartridge case and I didn't examine the firearm. But based on the photographs and the portrait of the examining, I used that. That's my findings of what I see.
A cell phone is at a microscope?
No, it's not. But it can also state that the new cameras of today, some of them are actually as good as microscope.
It's possible.
But it's not normal.
Does it have microscopic abilities, a camera of a cell phone?
Yes, you do.
I want to put it to you that that's incorrect, sir. It cannot be.
There's because I look on the internet, no nothing. There's actually smaller attachments that you put onto your phone and it will create almost like a microscope. You have the same ability as a microscope. Not as clear, not as big, but there is ability to do it.
What is the purpose of a microscope? Isn't that to see things that the naked eye can't see? That's why it was designed, is that correct? What's the purpose of a cell phone camera? Is that exactly the same purpose?
You're not dealing with the cell phone. I took a photograph of the cartridge case as an exhibit. And even with the bad quality of my photograph of my cell phone, I can see the mark. And if I put this under a microscope and like a question that you ask, can I see the visual with the mark? Using a microscope? Yes.
That apparatus that you showed the court yesterday, I think it is indeed a hand microscope, if I'm correct.
The microscope?
Yes, the one that you had yesterday, which you showed to the court, that apparatus. The one that you had right in your hand, which you showed.
Oh, yes, yes.
What is that?
That's part of the microscope. I'll go back to my photograph of the microscope.
Only.
Now, this only thing I brought to show the court what it looks like. This is what I brought to court. It's this part.
What function will it have if you look at the complete microscope there? Does it have all the functions of a microscope as you displayed it right there in your diagram?
The function, this is your objective structure. In other words, you put your cartridge of a 5-minute onto that. And that is what you will use to turn it around, swivel. This is to make sure that while you're busy with the cartridge or the 5-minute, you do not need to actually turn the cartridge itself. We use this as a mechanical device to move the cartridge around so you can see all the marks. So once you've set it up on 0, 0, and you find a mark, a unique mark at 7 o'clock, you should be able to find the same mark, a unique mark, on 7 o'clock on the left-hand side as well. It's just to give you a little bit more viewability of the cartridge capabilities.
Does it have the same functions as the microscope, the comparison microscope that you are displaying on that television set?
Does it have the same?
Same functions, same abilities, does it do exactly the same thing?
I do not understand the question.
What's the purpose of that microscope that you are just showing us there on television? What does it do?
It's a comparison microscope, right? Comparing two objects. That's the function of this microscope.
Yes. Compare two objects, is that correct?
That's correct.
The one that you've shown in court in your hand, does it have the exact same function as that one? To compare two at the same time?
Yes.
At the same time?
Yes.
Can you explain how?
I've got a large microscope. I've actually got two of them at home from my office. It's exactly the same as what you see there. It's a table model. It's not the older models. It's a table model, but I've got two of them. I've got an electronic camera as the top. So I've only taken off one part to come and illustrate. I can't believe the whole microscope here. It's too big. It's too big. So the main concern or the main issue that I brought it with to demonstrate how to set up the cartridge. I've got two of them, so I've got two objective studies. I've also got a comparison with my microscope actually got 4 nose pieces and not 3, so the enlargement is much bigger. I've got 8 microscopes into one, but my microscope works exactly the same and looks exactly the same as this.
You do know we're not referring to what you have at home. We're referring to the exhibit that you brought to court in order to examine whatever you needed to examine.
I didn't really to go to examine, I just brought it as an example.
The 8 microscopes that you are referring to are the ones you are referring at home, is that correct? Just to understand your evidence clearly. It's not the actual one which you showed the court yesterday.
No, it's the one that's on the, it's not the one that I've got. This is just an example. But all the comparison microscope work exactly the same and is exactly the same setup that we've got there. That's why I've only marked out certain of the parts. I can go and I can mark out all the parts if you want, but then it's too much. And that's irrelevant at this stage because you only need to know is how it works and what do you do with it.
How did you manage to examine the spent cartridges that was presented to you in court?
We used the court bench and we had a look at it. He showed it to us.
Yes. What did you use?
No, just the camera. Look at the photograph. I'll show you the photograph. You can actually see it was in court. Look at this side. This is the court bench. So the exhibit was taken out of the packet. It was placed on myself and Mr. Volmerans had a look at the cartridge. We compared the number that was engraved on the side to make sure it was the right one. And I took photographs.
So you didn't use any microscopic apparatus in order to examine those exhibits. Is that correct?
I've already testified on that now.
So your findings is basically from that photo you took from your cell phone, and you made findings regarding what you thought it would be or should be.
The findings that you're talking about, was there other marks available?
Yes, in your report, the ones that you made in your
There was
report.
other marks. The lieutenant colonel testified, but he couldn't find any other marks. And the marks that he found, he made negative.
Were you present when he testified? Because
I was
my recollection states that I might be wrong, that he did say that he found other marks, but he was not able to make a positive finding on those marks.
I disagree. I was in court, and he testified that the injector the extractor, the deep station, the final print is negative. And then we further testified that the neck marks that we used on the protocols based that he used and that we decided for himself, we used the same area for a comparison. And then further it was asked, and it was put in, what other marks did you find? We said, we didn't find any mark. It was specifically mentioned made of the ejection port. And we said we couldn't find anything.
That begs the question, how accurate would Godleka's microscopic examination and his finding in the comparison will be relating to how you have conducted those tests? Would it be more accurate than the ones that you conducted?
I wouldn't say it would be more correct, no.
What would you say to that?
It's difficult to say that you do your own examination. The main thing is what I'm testifying about. I can see matches, like I already explained yesterday. And I also see differences, a lot of differences. And that's where the problem is. It's because of the difference. That's why you need to go to the second area to make sure that either a projector, extractor, or something else confirms what you see because of the differences that you see. Not the matching, that's easy to do. Anybody can do two matches and say it's the same. You have to look deeper into it. You have to look at all the differences that you can find. And then make a collective decision. Is that correct? What can I place that is matching? And the difference, you have to compare both of them.
Do you confirm that there were indeed matches?
No, I've already testified to that yesterday. I said there is matches. There is some spaces that
Yes.
match.
Have you ever had a look at SPA 249 line? Before the shooting incident, during the shooting incident, or after the shooting incident, before it arrived at the ballistic section?
You asked me about the firearm.
The actual firearm that
No, I
used.
haven't.
Were you aware that the breech block of that particular firearm has been removed after it had fired shots?
Well, according to testimony, I gathered that the breech or the bolt carrier was changed with the bolt. That was the indication, according to the testimony that was there. And he said that it was changed. When it was changed, we will never know.
The evidence of Godleka was that it was changed after the firing incident at the Sisa Dukasha Stadium.
If that was the case, then the breech face, extractor, ejector would have
That's
been
not
possible.
an accurate what he said with respect. He never said after. The record can be checked with it also, but listen carefully, it wasn't the case subject to that. Even as not knowledge is incorrect.
I'll have to check the record, so I'll make a ruling on that aspect. However, the record I left in my office, so we can move on. And I will put
I also look, I appreciate that.
was that during evidence in chief or cross-examination that after emanates from?
In those instances, Your Worship, he was actually cross-examined on that aspect
Okay,
thoroughly.
all right. Thank you. I will check the cross-examination part, Advocate Odes.
Before it was submitted to the forensic science laboratory for testing, the ballistic section was removed.
Not of every people, other people remove the change. But we will never know when it was changed. I can't say.
This breech block, which other parts will be within that breech block?
The bolt, we're talking about the bolt carrier. Bolt carrier is on the outside. Then you have the bolt, the bolt within the bolt. And the firing pin and briefcase mark. That is where, I'm going to go back to this one slide. All the parts first the firing pin, extractor, ejector, and briefcase are all part of the rotating bolt, which is in the bolt carrier.
Those parts that you've just mentioned there, does it have an impact on a cartridge case when it's ejected and the marks that's left on a particular cartridge case?
You can find it in the cartridge. All of these marks can be present, or some of them can't. It depends on the print on the inside of the firearm, all the firearms. So you can find that you have a firing pin, you have extractor, ejector, but you will not have briefcase mark. The briefcase mark will be not good enough. So it can happen that we find some of them or we find nothing, but the question was put to the internal. And he made this negative.
Yes.
Not, he didn't eliminate it, he made it negative.
We're getting there. My question was, if the breech block of a firearm containing all those parts that you referred to there, would it have an impact on the marks that has been left on the spent cartridge or on a cartridge case pack? Yes.
I'm really familiar with cross-examination. So if you can refrain from, I already answered the question, please answer the question. If it is repeated or what becomes repetitive, answering the equipment intervene or not. The question was whether that had impact on the spent cartridge.
Yes, and the marks left on it, and the answer is yes. But that's confirming exactly what I've been saying, because the breech block was removed. That's why the negatives that you've marked there, and also being confirmed, you are in agreement with Colonel Gwadlek. For what good reason would the person then remove a breech block from a particular firearm? Name a few.
Farm could have not working in the right conditions, so they send it in so that it can change. Might be that a firing pin is replaced with bolting, or the bolt broke or anything. So you didn't really replace it. The appearance that is different.
Could that also be to impact or to change the results should ballistic tests be conducted on that particular firearm?
Possibility exists.
It's highly likely, is that correct?
What you say is I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible.
You referred earlier about the pressure of a bullet leaving the firearm, if I remember correctly. What were you talking about, the type of pressure?
It depends on the inside of the cartridge. As the cartridge expands, press the inside the cartridge will push the cartridge case into the marks. It's a zip cord that is available in the firearm.
Does that also have an impact on the marks which is left on the spent cartridge? The amount of pressure which the bullet exits.
Can you just repeat the question?
Does that also have an impact on the marks left on a particular spent cartridge, the amount of pressure?
You can have the influence, yes.
Would two spent cartridges be exactly, or two live rounds, let me not spent cartridges, two live rounds, would the pressure coming out of two live rounds be exactly the same?
According to the specification in the manufacturer, they should be the same.
But it does happen that they are not the same, is that correct?
I don't disagree with you. If you're talking about the difference between 223 and a 5.56, yes, there's a difference. Compared to the second.
There's a lot of buzzing, and so I know if you can just raise your voice a little, if I would.
The 223 Remington ammunition compared to the 5.56 by 45 millimeter ammunition, you will find that the 5.56 pressure is much more than that of a 223. Now we need to look at the manufacturing process. In other words, you will find that some of the propellant might be different, so it will give you different pressure. Then you have to look at the cartridge case. What is it manufactured of? How many bras, how many tin, how many, depending. Was the cartridge case harder? 5.56 you will find on the POP ammunition that they make. You find that the top of the cartridge is normally looks like a blue color. That means it's heat treated. The cartridge case is made harder to withstand the pressure. So yes, there can be a difference, but same ammunition, same manufacturer, there shouldn't be a difference.
Yes, but they can. That's what you confirm, is that correct?
If we do reloading, yes. On manufactured ammunition, no, I'm disagreeing with you.
I'm not an expert in firearms, but isn't that actually it was described, the way it was described by you in both later, is that the hammer hits the premier, is that correct?
No, the hammer is the firing pin.
Yes, the firing pin, that's correct. Yes.
I showed the video where it actually shows what that is.
Thank you for helping me there. Yes, and then after that, it causes, it ignites
Yes.
the powder, the gunpowder inside the cartridge case, is that correct?
Yes, the primer ignites the powder then starts burning. Pressure happens on the inside of the cartridge. In that process, it pushes the bullet out of the barrel. Out of the barrel. If the cord pieces, I can show the video again.
It's my understanding from your evidence and from Galeka, the only actually the part that leaves the barrel of the firearm is just the bullet, is that correct?
No,
That leaves it in order to go to the target.
Yes, if you look at the fire bullet will leave the muzzle of the firearm in the direction they aim. But also out of the firearm will be the cartridge case.
So are you telling this court that all the granules in that gunpowder would be exactly the same?
It should be the same.
In make, shape, everything?
From the same manufacturer, yes. The court must understand, so can I just explain it now? There are certain standards and credits that the firearm is manufactured for. So you can't just go and buy any powder from the shop and load it with that. It's going to be dangerous. So there's certain powders that you're going to use and give you certain credits inside the firearm within specification that you won't blow up your gun.
Thank you. In this case, what have you been able to look at all four the test spent cartridge cases that was used in SP A249 in order to compare with the actual exhibit found at the Susa Dukashe Stadium?
Actually, it was the hospital.
I didn't hear you?
No, I have not examined it.
All four.
Sorry?
All four.
All four of them, yes.
How many of those four test cartridge cases did you examine?
The test cartridges, none. None. None.
I'm afraid we have the same repetitive request as previous occasion, and it was clear when we started to switch off something. Otherwise, leave.
Leadership, I was looking through the exhibits, Exhibit D in particular, but it doesn't make any mention of the breech block having been changed after it was fired, so I'm still off the same view. As you wish, please.
Advocate Caesar, continue.
Were you aware that four of the spent test cartridge cases that was examined by Guadalajara actually tested positive to the exhibits, both the firearm and the...
In the court process, only one is mentioned. So I gather that if there's four test cartridges,
Is 4 a high number in your ballistic expertise?
Evidence.
I'm with you now, Advocate Matthews. Otherwise, I'm going to. Okay, I forgot the.
There is no evidence from the ballistic expert that all four test cartridge cases tested positive. You referred only to the one on the job.
Okay, just a minute. That will bring us to the second issue. So that leaves us with two, but either I have to read the record or you and Advocate Hodes have to tell me or quote why you are objecting and saying that was not the evidence.
Objecting from my memory.
So you'll have to tell me exactly.
Gallagher did not testify that all four tested positive. His evidence pertained to the one test that he had done.
Okay, and I still have to check then, because your objection is based on memory. I'll have to reply based on memory, but I'll have to check based on the actual record. Same applies that it is based on your objection. Is it also from memory that he said after?
Yes, Your Worship. As I was looking at the exhibits, I believe that it would have been in the exhibits because there was the mention of the breach block being changed, but he didn't say that it was after. And he said there's nothing sinister to be read into it, which would be inconsistent with having said it was done after the fact. They're mutually destructive. That's why I've got a clear recollection of it.
I'll have to.
I want to remember, even explained for this, that sometimes they go shooting with people and then when they're handing the firearms to be cleaned, they could be confusing because they fit perfectly. So I said there's nothing sinister to be drawn from the fact that it had been changed, and he specifically states he couldn't say when it had happened. I've got a clear recollection of it. Yes, yes.
You were rising, Advocate Matthew?
That's confirming exactly what my electronic is.
Okay.
In fact, he did say that this could have been done by accident when people were cleaning their firearms altogether.
Okay.
See, Your Worship frowns, but that is the evidence.
No, I hear you saying that is the evidence. I'll check the record to make a final. I am not going to make a ruling based on memory. I'll have to check.
I don't want to interfere with my evidence cross-examination all the time, so I specifically never want to interfere. Because cross-examination is a tool to come to the truth. So, but you shouldn't put a thing like this that Kalaka testified that all four of the tests were positive when that was not so. It's neither young nor there. We are dealing with one that has been proved before court on the court.
Let me hear from the state. Maybe he has a submission in this regard. Advocacy's defense. Thank you. So that aspect is cleared. It's referred to one, not four.
Thank you.
I can assist Your Worship. When Your Worship called back the Colonel for a clarification, Your Worship, and I'll give Your Worship the date. It will assist Your Worship. And this issue arose, Your Worship asked him this question.
After issue number one.
Yes, Your Worship. With the changing of the bridge blocks after the fact. I just want to try to find the date. Your Worship, I have it as the 11th of September 2023. I might be wrong. But Your Worship will remember the Brigadier was brought back to testify. And Your Worship asked, the Colonel was called back to testify in clarification, and Your Worship asked him about soon after Your Worship began, Your Worship, the last four digits did not correspond with the numbers on the bridge block. We said yes, the last four digits did not correspond. Then that was left for a while, then Your Worship came back to that. Your Worship asked him specifically, bridge blocks are interchangeable. He says yes, they're very similar and are easily interchangeable. He said of that firearm, he said I can remove it in under 1 minute. Your Worship asked him, the bridge block changed before it was examined by you, so the cartridge case was not consistent with the bridge block. Therefore, it seemed to be deeper. Found the bridge block had a number stamped on it, others did not. Instead of other one had a different number. When Your Worship asked him, did you manage to find the bridge block that was meant to fit that particular firearm? He says, no. I checked, it was not amongst the 40. And Your Worship says, the normal procedure to change bridge blocks, if as an answer you wish to do so, he says, not seen often, but police do make that type of mistake, otherwise not normal. It was never asked, Your Worship, and established as a fact that it took place after the shooting. It's in Your Worship's clarification and previously of his own accord, Your Worship. I specifically remember that he said that in his evidence, I believe in chief, that there's nothing sinister in the changing of the bridge block, and that's why Your Worship asked the clarification. He said it does happen when they go en masse to shooting ranges and then the things get cleaned together. But nobody has ever given evidence that occurred after the shooting, Worship. That's something that's simply scientifically illogical, to quote my learned friend when he talks about the process of logic, and was never established to be the case. So it's incorrect, the question. It was incorrectly put. One cannot say that the bridge block was changed after the shooting.
For, during, or after it remains for argument. Is that what you are saying? It's not clear according to the evidence.
It was incorrect to have put to the witness that the evidence was that it was after the shooting. That's my objection, and that remains my objection. And it's clear from the questions that Your Worship even asked that that was the case. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Doris. You can either continue with the cross-examination or adjourn to have a look at the report as well.
No, Your Worship, I won't pursue that. May issue any further for now.
If it changes in any event during the tea adjournment or whatever, I'll check and confirm on record what you've read, Advocate Otis.
It will be in the ballistic expert of the state's evidence chief and in the clarification, Your Worship. Thank you.
Proceed, Advocate Caesar.
Thank you. Colonel Guadeka, from his evidence, he found identification marks in the neck area of the specific exhibit that was left at the Susa Dukashi Stadium. I can't hear you.
That's correct.
The neck area of a particular firearm, does it form part of the actual chamber of the firearm?
Yes, I have explained the examination. I showed the photograph on the markings. It's in the chamber, yes.
In other words, for Guadeka to come to such a finding, he not only had to look at the actual exhibit, the spent cartridge, he actually had to look into the chamber, which is part of the firearm. Is that correct? In other words, for Guadeka, he found these identification marks, which is part of the neck area of the specific spent cartridge. You confirm that, is that correct? You also confirm that that part, the neck area, is also part of the chamber of the firearm. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I can show the court again. I've got it up on the screen. And basically, this is your chamber. And the neck mark you're talking about is situated right here where the arrow is now. So it's part of the chamber starts from there, right there. So the whole area is the chamber. Chamber mark.
And the chamber actually forms part of the firearm itself.
It's part of the firearm.
In other words, for Guadeka to come to such a finding, you not only have to look at the neck area of the specific spent cartridge or the exhibit, you also have to actually look at the firearm and its chamber in order to compare and see that it is indeed positive firearm.
When you use the chamber as identification, you should have looked at all the other marks as well, injector, extractor, injection port. You have to compare all of that.
Isn't that what Leka actually went further by examining the firearm and found the ball carrier assembly has been changed? That's when he noticed that the ball assembly carrier has been changed, because he did further go further into the examination.
That's going to be determined. I don't examine the file, so I cannot testify on the file.
If that is the case, did he actually go further? The type of further that you are referring to?
To look at all the other marks.
Yes.
You have to.
How much effort goes into the changing of a ball carrier on a firearm? To change it?
The bolt carrier with the bolt on the inside is very easy to change. Once you open up the file, like I explained yesterday about the upper and the lower, once you open it up, it's got a swivel, you put it up, and the bolt carrier is out. With the bolt, you take the other one, you slide it in, and close it up. So it's fairly quick.
You're referring to less than 2 minutes or so?
Less than 2 minutes.
What is the purpose of a ball carrier assembly in a firearm? What goal does it play?
It's a mechanism part of the firearm to close the firearm, which carries the bolt, the rotating bolt. So as the firearm closes, the bolt carrier will push it forward, and because of the cutout at the top, the bolt will lock into the locking nut, so that the firearm is safe to fire. So the bolt carrier is there to carry the bolt. It's part of the firearm. It will not function if that's not there.
Just in the, I found that there's page 57 of the Colonel's evidence, from line 5 further, where he says that he confirms that the parts could have been changed inadvertently. But if you read the whole page, you'll see that it was during cross-examination. I was busy putting to him that the reason why he says the part has changed because it doesn't match positive. Alright? Which obviously the state version is the reason why it doesn't match is because it was changed. We are saying that if nothing was changed, it's going negative because it's not that fire on that fire. But you will see on that page from the paragraph downwards that he clearly says that it was done inadvertently. I'm just quoting what the record says.
No, I know. I'm just thinking about what you're saying exactly the same as what the state is saying. His evidence is clear, what the colonel testified is clear. Are you not saying exactly the same? Or am I missing the entire point?
As that the colonel testified that after the shots had been fired, somebody changed.
That aspect, after. Bill, I thought you were now objecting to this bolt carrier part of the evidence. You have to be clear. I didn't know where you were coming from now.
Back to my memory that you said I was relying on. Is relied on in the record.
I didn't get you at this point. I'll check, and I've marked page 57. Thank you. Okay, Advocate Caesar, your last question was answered, the purpose of the bolt carrier, and he answered. You may continue from there.
Thank you, Bishop. Mr. de Klerk, I want you to go to 3.15 of your report that you have compiled.
What?
3.15. Where you state that 3.15, you state I have to date investigate, examine more than 3,960 forensic related cases, including wildlife crime scenes. And you said, no, this include cases during my service in the South African Police Services. Do you see that? So the number that you put there, 3,950 cases, includes wildlife cases. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How many actual ballistic tests have you performed on firearms?
How many tests on
Yes.
You say roughly about 3,900, but you cannot compare testing of a firearm as the only thing that I'm doing. There's other parts of forensic ballistics, if you need to compare. The firearm, if we have a firearm, we will test the firearm. If I do not have a firearm, I will do it. Like I've explained, it's all about the qualifications and the training. The ballistic expert is not just there to do a physical match of cartridge as a fire bullet. It's much more than that. Looking at post-mortem reports, determining of trajectories, there's a lot of this all pertaining within my report. Firearm examination is a small part of forensic ballistics.
How many of the cases that have you done relating to this specific, like in this case where Godleka actually examined the spent cartridge case with the firearm? That's the question. How many of those did you do?
I don't know, but it's a lot.
Should you not have kept records relating to how many of, in order for you to testify on your expertise in this regard?
Unfortunately, when I was part of the police services, you do not think that you ever in your life that you need the quantities of the cases that you're doing within the police force. I've only started collecting my information once I decided to leave the force. At that stage, I didn't have access to all the cases that I've done. Because as soon as you start at the ballistic section, you start doing cases where you do comparison of cartridge cases and fired bullets. That's the first step, teaching you how to do that.
If I understand your evidence correctly, the number relating to ballistic tests is not this number that you've put there, the 3,950 relating to similar cases like in this one. That includes everything, the number you've put there.
It's 3,960 forensic related cases. I'm not testifying there that this is so many firearms I've examined. That's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly my argument. How many did you do?
And that's this stage I cannot tell you exact number. I cannot, but it's within the range of the 3,960 cases.
In fact, it will be less if you include all these other jets of all trades that you put in here.
So when you look at the 9 years of doing ballistics, and you get 15 cases a week, you can roughly work out how many cases the firearms you talk about. The first year you're not doing firearm-related cases, you do not comparison with firearms. You do firearm examinations where you do ex-workers, the working of the firearm, but not related to identification. Only later you bring the two together. So you can have a case where you only do the firearm, you examine the firearm, but it's not related to identification. And then you have cartridge cases that picked up at the scene where you do not have a firearm. And then later on, you still are linked and then you do the comparison.
My question is, the number is actually less than the 3,950 ballistic tests of this nature.
Firearms, like I said, forensic related cases, the firearm examining, or the quantity that you want, I cannot qualify, will fall within the 3,960 cases.
in this report, as you stated it here, it shows that you do a little bit of everything. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes. The number that you presented here is not the actual amount of ballistic tests that you have conducted on firearms and spent cartridges. Is that correct?
That is included in that number.
It's not an accurate number, sir.
It is the exact number, or accurate number. According to my calculations, when I started collecting the information, to date, that is what I've done. It can even be more, but I'm not sure. I don't have access to these systems or the computers to pull the exact amount of cases that I've done. The lieutenant colonel's got access to that.
Yes, we're getting there. I want to put it to you, your answer relating to this question is very vague, and you do not want to commit to a specific answer relating to your experience in examining firearms and spent cartridges.
How can I commit if I do not know?
But the amount that you put here is including your wildlife cases, your other examinations. Is that correct?
Forensic related cases.
Yes. So the number that you put here is not an accurate reflection on your actual ballistic test which you have conducted. Is that not correct?
Conducted on firearms?
Yes, that's the question on firearms with the spent cartridge.
The 3,900 is stated clearly in my report was forensic related cases. So the firearm examining formed part of that number. What the exact amount is, I cannot tell you.
What Leka, by the time he compiled this report, I'm not 100% sure if it's in 2018, I'm going to still have to look at that report. The number that he provided to the court was 4,724 actual ballistic test cases that he has conducted. If you see that.
I cannot consider that. I can't disagree with it.
If you look at the number that you've provided and the number that he's provided, in other words, roughly, if my math served me correctly, he's done about 774 cases more than you have conducted.
Yes, but how long has he been in the ballistic unit as well? That as well. I've been there for 9 years. How long has the lieutenant colonel been there? That's the question. So the amount of work, do not worry, the expertise. He's still a ballistic expert. And I'm still a ballistic expert in the sense that this is the amount of cases that I've done today. If he's done more than me, good for him. Does not make him a very expert.
I haven't even got to that, and you're already answering that. Would you regard that number 774 to be a vast difference from the ones that you have conducted?
I wouldn't say it's a vast difference now.
It's almost 800 cases, sir, if you round it off.
You need to look at the amount of years that is spent with ballistic unit. If we look at the years relating to the cases, and it's the same average amount, so yes.
In other words, you have conducted far more of these type of tests than you.
That's That's the assumption, yes.
Yet you challenge his report without even having tested the actual exhibits.
That's the amount of 4,700 that we mentioned also includes normal cartridge cases and all the other stuff exactly the same as the forensic related cases. It's not all 4,700 cases that is mentioned there is regarding firearm examining, where he actually examined firearms. That's impossible.
You just said it depends on the number of years they've been in the ballistic unit. That can confirm that, is that correct?
Yeah, I can confirm. 4,700 the day includes all the cases that he's done when he was employed, still employed by the ballistic unit.
You also said that the police, you left the police, you no longer have that accurate numbers. You actually said in your own evidence that you will have the accurate number because it is in that system in the South African police service. That's what your evidence are.
You should have actually said.
Yes. And you actually said that you cannot dispute this number that he actually gave and provided to court of the number of ballistic tests that he has performed.
I'm not disputing the quantity that is done. I'm disputing that the 4,700 is all related to firearms that they examined.
This report that you finalized yesterday, has it been subjected to any peer review?
It has been peer reviewed. They haven't signed it, but it was sent to America. Earlier I testified about that, and it was sent to peer reviewed.
If you compiled this report yesterday, when would you have sent it for a peer review?
The latest, the date before, I will only sign it once I find or I receive response regarding the peer review. I will not sign it before I peer review to make sure that everything is clear. So the document, to explain how it works, the document is unsigned. I will send the document to the peer review. Once it comes back, we'll have a discussion regarding changes, like minor changes or these and haves and whatever. Changes will be made and I will resend it back. Once that is done, he signs the peer review normally, and will be sent back, and it's not unfortunately it's cut off at the bottom of the page. And then I will sign it, and that's what I do.
When would this person have had an opportunity, sir, to look at this document? You said it yesterday, to actually do the peer review, to discuss it with you, whether any changes were supposed to be made?
It was after 9 hours behind us, so I would normally phone him at 4 o'clock. So if I send that, he's still really on his way to work. So between 4 o'clock and 9 o'clock, that's when we consult. 4 hours in the morning. At 9, and he's in Colorado. He works for the state lab in Colorado. He actually peer reviews my work for me.
Who is this person?
Cobus State.
Cobus, who?
Cobus State.
Is he some?
Stay room, stay.
State. S-T-E-Y-A.
Is he a South African citizen staying in the USA?
He immigrated, yes.
Yes. A chummy of yours, old friend.
Old friend, old colleague, yes.
Yes. You call that a peer review when your friend is looking at your report.
I believe that he's more qualified enough. I think he's qualified more than anybody in South Africa to do this peer review for him.
You couldn't find anybody else. The gentleman has been attending with you to court every day. I think he's also a ballistic expert sitting at the back.
Mr. Bolmerans?
Yes.
Mr. Bolmerans is going out of business. He's stopping to do the work. And currently, I do trust Curtis Style. He's got more technology behind him, the new technology that's available in the world. And because he's doing peer review work in America, I'd rather trust him before I trust any of the experts in South Africa. And that includes the private experts.
You were friends in the police SAPS when you were still there, is that correct?
We actually sat in the same office.
Yes. It seems to be obvious why you'll be using him to do your peer review.
I still believe he's more qualified than South Africa.
Have you had Mr. Volmerans, if you've been walking around here at court in every attendance, also do a peer review on this specific report that you've compiled?
No, I don't even get a call from Mr. Bolmerans now.
Why not?
I've explained that I had a peer reviewed by my colleague. And we, myself and Mr. Bolmerans, agree that what was produced on the presentation is agreement between us. It's not on paper, but there is an agreement.
Sorry, I don't follow your concept.
Mr. Bolmerans, we have discussed this case before the case started. We have seen the presentation that I produced to the court. And he agrees what I put to the court on my presentation.
I have received this report of yours yesterday, and I want to tell you that it was actually a tedious exercise to go through line for line what you've written. Yeah, it took a lot of time.
That's correct.
It took a lot of consultations. I'm not even sure if we have done everything in accordance to how we wanted to consult. Time was of the issue. When would this person all the way in America would have gotten a chance to look at this report and look at it thoroughly, discuss it with you, actually sign it if he agrees with you, or ask you to amend or alter some of your findings in this report?
No comment. It was done, so I've got no comment.
Has he actually signed this report as a person who reviewed it and agrees with everything you said here from the photographs that you took?
Yes, we have signed it, now I have to go check.
So you don't have a signed copy, the one you gave us?
No, unfortunately.
Why haven't you checked last night or this morning if he actually signed the report that you've.
Because I've already handed in the report, and I cannot change the report that's currently in front of me.
In other words, this report without that signature is your opinion and your view only. Is that correct? Without that signature of a peer review.
No, I disagree with that. Mr. Stone had insight to it. If the court pleases, I can get you a copy of the sign. If you want, then it's possible to get you a sign.
My question again, why didn't you check last night if that copy was available, or this morning if that copy was available, in order to bring it here and present it to say, look, my peer review have signed?
Yesterday morning, I completely didn't look at that because of the stitches that I got. I did not even see them.
I'm talking about last night, sir.
Last night, the same thing, already handed in the report.
Does it matter if you just had to check whether this peer of yours in the USA, your chummy, have signed this thing?
I could have checked. I don't know.
You also didn't check this morning
No, I don't.
before you continued with this evidence of yours.
I don't.
Should you have?
I probably should have, but I haven't.
You have seen Guadaleka's report, is that correct?
Sorry?
You have seen Mr. Guadaleka, Colonel Guadaleka's report. You have seen it.
I've actually seen, I think, 9 of them.
Yes, you have had insight into it, is that correct?
That's correct.
You saw that reports of those reports of his were peer reviewed, it was signed by his peers, and it has been confirmed that that is correct.
I'm confident that it's saying that it's peer reviewed. I know that it's signed by the demander, but I'm not sure if it's peer reviewed. I cannot recall, sorry.
You know where I got that word of peer review? From his evidence, I didn't even know that their reports are peer reviewed,
All the reports should be peer reviewed.
including yours. Is that accepted practice, that your reports be reviewed by a close friend of yours, which you have shared an office, who just immigrated to the United States?
I would disagree with the statement. It is peer reviewed by somebody that you consider to be equal to you or better than you.
Is that the standard practice in the South African Police Service or anywhere else, that a friend, close friend of yours, peer review your work?
When I was in the force, in the ballistics unit, you would normally go and ask somebody with a higher rank, more experience, to have a look at your work. How it works now, I do not know. Currently in the South African Police or the ballistics unit, I cannot testify how it works now. If they will ask a friend, like it was stated. But when I was there, you would ask somebody with more experience or a higher rank than you.
I am going to into a different portion of this evidence now. I just want to ask if we can take the tea adjournment now at 11.
Yes, please make it an adjournment. Then I will just court will then adjourn for tea until 11 o'clock. I would ask, please, yesterday afternoon we had to pick up a lot of packets, bags, dirt. Please, I think we've placed bins at each exit or entry. Please use them. There were many plastic bags that I personally picked up in the gallery. Please use the bin. Thank you.